Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to multiply decimals, and we're going to start with this example, but we're going to have two other examples. So let's get started. So here we have 6.5 times 3, and really when we're multiplying with decimals, you just have to kind of not think about the decimal while you're multiplying and then bring it back in at the end. So let's get started. So we'll have 6.5 times 3. Okay, so we're going to think about this as 65 times 3 before we bring in this decimal. So we have to start with 5 times 3, and 5 times 3 is 15, and we carry the 1. So then we think, what is 3 times 6? That's 18, plus the 1 that we carried over, and that is 19. So now that we have multiplied out our equation, we have to think about what to do with this decimal. And really what we do is we take a look at the problem, and we see that there is only one number to the right of the decimal. So when you are bringing the decimal back into the answer, your decimal is going to be however many numbers there are past the decimal to the right. So in this case, we have one number to the right of the decimal, so we are going to bring in the decimal with one number to the right of it. So then we get 6.5 times 3 is 19.5. So our next example is a little trickier because now we have not one number to the right of the decimal, but two numbers to the right of the decimal in the equation side. So if I were to write this out as 1 8/10 times 2 4/10, we are again going to start by thinking about this as 18 times 24. So the first step would be multiplying the 4 times the 8 and the 4 times the 1 before we move on to the 2 times the 8 and then the 2 times the 1. So 4 times 8 is 32, so we leave the 2 down there and we have to carry the 3. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So then we have to move on to the 2 times the 8. So 2 times 8 is 16. So remember, when we multiply the second level, we move over to the left one space because we are working in a space that's 10 times bigger than the 4. The 2 is 10 times bigger than the 4. So now that we know that 2 times 8 is 16, we have to cross out the 3, and we are carrying the 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus that 1 that we carried over is 3. So that goes here. And then we're going to add these all up. So 2 plus 0 is 2. 6 plus 7 is 13. And again, we are carrying that 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, so from here it looks like 432, but we have to remember again that in the original equation we have one number past the decimal to the right, and then we have another number to the right of the decimal. So together that is two numbers past the decimal to the right, so we have to have two numbers to the right of the decimal in this equation, and the answer is 4 32/100. Okay, so our last example is different from the first two because we have two numbers past the decimal for one of the numbers to the right, and for the other number we don't have any decimals. So again, we're going to start by multiplying these out. So our first step would be 5 times 0, and that would be 0, and then 6 times 0 is 0, and 1 times 0 is 0. And then we have to move on to the 2. So remember, we are moving over to the left because we are 10 times bigger in this, in the tens spot. So 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. and then we carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So again, we're going to add these all together. 0, 3, 3. So again, we have to look at this first part of the equation to figure out how many places we need to move the decimal. And if we look at this number, 1.65, there are 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. But in this number, there are no numbers to the right of the decimal, because the decimal would be right there. So again, when we are looking at the answer, we would just move the decimal over 2 places. So we want 2 numbers to the right of the decimal. So the answer to 1.65 is 3.